Hey guys, welcome back. Houston Math Prep here. In this video, we're going to look at identifying the center and the radius of a circle given to us in standard form. Now, in order to identify those attributes, we need to make sure that our equation of our circle is in graphing form. In order to take it from standard form to graphing form, we're going to use the method of completing the square. So the first thing that we want to look for is a correct grouping of our terms, meaning that we want to group all of our terms involving x together, all of our terms involving y together, and then we may or may not have a constant left over. If we do, we want to move it to the other side of the equal sign. So mine are already grouped. I just need to move that constant over and go ahead and set up my blanks for completing the square. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is x squared plus 4x plus blank for my x's, plus y squared minus 2y plus blank for my y's. And when I move that minus 20 over to the other side, I do so by adding, and so I get a positive 20. Now remember, when we're working with equations, if I add something to the left side, I also have to add it to the right side. So I'm going to go ahead and set up plus blank and plus blank so that everything I add to the left will also be added to the right. Okay, so completing the square. Remember that method says I take b over 2 and I square it. So for my x's, that will be 4 over 2 squared. 4 over 2 can reduce down to 2 squared, which is 4. So both on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, I'm going to add 4. Now I'm going to repeat that process for my y's. So for the y's, b is negative 2 over 2, and then I'll square that. So negative 2 over 2 is negative 1 squared. Negative 1 squared makes a positive 1, so both to the left and to the right, I'm going to add positive 1. Now the whole purpose of completing the square was so that we could factor this perfect square. Remember that you can, if you write down your steps, use this middle term right here to help you know the factors. So x squared plus 4x plus 4 factors to be x plus 2 squared. Doing the same idea for my y's. Y squared minus 2y plus 1 is going to factor to y minus 1 squared. And then for my right-hand side, I'm simply going to add up my constants. 20 plus 4 plus 1 makes 25. So now the equation of my circle is in graphing form. So now I can fairly easily identify my center and my radius. My center comes from inside the parentheses, and it is the opposite of what it appears. So x plus 2 gives me a minus 2 for the x coordinate of my center, and y minus 1 gives me a positive 1 for the y coordinate of my center. My constant over on the right-hand side is r squared. My radius will be r, so taking the square root of 25, I get 5. So this circle has a center of negative 2, 1, and a radius of 5. All right, let's try that one more time. Looking at this next example, 2x squared plus 4x plus 2y squared minus 12y minus 10 equals 0, notice here that our x squared and y squared have a coefficient of 2. When we go to complete the square, we need lead coefficients of 1. So you have two ways of dealing with this. If all of your coefficients are even, you can just go ahead and right now divide both sides of the equal sign by 2. Since we have everything divisible by 2, I'm going to go ahead and do that. If we did not, we could factor out the 2 from our x terms and our y terms as we completed the square. But as I said, since everything is divisible by 2, I'm just going to go ahead and divide both sides of the equal sign by 2. So that's going to leave me with x squared plus 2x plus y squared minus 6y minus 5 equals 0 over 2 is still 0. So now I'm ready to get started on my completing the square process. Alright, so grouping up my x's, I have x squared plus 2x. I'm going to go ahead and have plus blank. Doing the same for my y's, that will be y squared minus 6y plus blank. Taking that minus 5 and moving it over, that will become a positive 5 on the right-hand side. And then I'm just going ahead and setting up to remember that everything I add to the left must also be added to the right. Okay, taking b over 2, that's for my x's, that's 2 over 2 squared, which is 1 squared, or 1. So I'm going to be adding 1 to both sides. For my y's, my b value is negative 6, so negative 6 over 2 squared is negative 3 squared is 9. I've got 9 here and 9 here. All right, now that we've completed the square, let's go ahead and factor those perfect squares. So x squared plus 2x plus 1, use this middle term, is going to factor to x plus 1 squared. For my y's, again, using this middle term, y squared minus 6y plus 9 is going to factor to y minus 3 squared. And for my right-hand side, just go ahead and add up 5 plus 1 plus 9, or 15. So now that I'm in graphing form, I can identify my center and my radius. My center is my HK. It comes from inside the parentheses, gives me opposite. So that will be negative 1 as my x coordinate and positive 3 as my y coordinate. Remembering that this side, my right side, is r squared, my radius will be the square root of 15. So this circle has a center of negative 1, 3, and a radius of square root 15. Alright guys, that does it for this video on finding the center and radius of a circle. We'll catch you in the next video.